Hello, everyone. Welcome again to a new session out of the interview series that we do in Technovation. And as you can see, together we have the big pleasure to have with us Professor Magnus Klofsten from Linköping University in Sweden. Very good to see you, Magnus.
Thank you, John.
And as you may have seen, Magnus, together with some of the colleagues, has been one of the co-editors of the very recent special issue that has been published in our journal in Technovation, dealing with intrapreneurial universities in digital times. So, Professor Klofsten, why do you think that this special issue is important to the readership of Technovation?
Well, I think this special issue has a long background. When it comes to the subject around entrepreneurial universities and academic entrepreneurship, this is something I've been of interest for me since the late 90s, actually, where I am and Dylan Jones Evans, we published a paper in another journal on academic entrepreneurship, and that was extremely early in the field, where we looked at spin-offs and tech transfer things happening, patterns and things like that, And a big jump ahead in the time, we were a team starting up this field again. We had a special issue around the landscape of entrepreneurial universities. Then I became a guest editor together with the team again in another journal around the strategic aspect of the entrepreneurial university. And then during these years, and I've also been very involved in the third mission and training and supporting entrepreneurship within the university and also outside the university. I said that why not looking at what was happening inside the university? I was a little bit angry, actually, to be honest. People say that I can't be a researcher any longer. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to start a new spin-off, etc., etc. Spin-off firm. And I said, you don't have to leave the university to be entrepreneurial or be an entrepreneur. You can actually be an entrepreneur inside the university. And you know that it's a long tradition when it comes to corporate entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship within private larger companies. And I think it's the same in universities. It's a lot of entrepreneurship happening within the university that we don't see or recognize as entrepreneurship. And then we were basically the same team again. It was David Urbano, it was Maribel Guerrero. And we had also another professor from Germany called Alexander Brem. And we decided that why not try to do something here? And we approached Technovation. We sent in a proposal. And at that time, we had some kind of referendum within the area editor team, about 20 people, I think. And we won. We actually won the proposal. So we wrote something, and we put it onto the call for paper at the Technovation homepage. Nothing happened. No papers came in at all. And I remember that David Urbano, we were sitting in I think it was in Seattle during the Academy of Management for 2 years ago. I said, what are we going to do? Isn't this interesting for people, And we spoke with Wim and said, why not lengthen the time for submission? And we also spoke with some people, why not submitting something? And all of a sudden, papers start coming into the journal around this theme, And all of a sudden, we had a group of, say, 15, 20 decent papers that we could select from. And then we felt safe, basically, that we had a special issue and that we could start the review processes. And the simple idea was that academics could be entrepreneurial. They could be entrepreneurs, not leaving the university. That was a very, very simple idea. And what I saw quite quickly was that, wow, a lot of input to this very basic idea. I got papers from India, paper from the United States, paper from all around Europe, with different perspectives on this entrepreneurial idea we had about academics, you know. So all of a sudden, we really felt that wow, this idea, this very basic idea about entrepreneurial universities was growing a lot, you know. And we started the processes. We had a wonderful review processes. Some papers started getting finished, you know, after a couple of rounds. And for some few months in the spring, we actually completed the special issue, and we had a great final at the Academy of Management. We succeeded to get the PDW on the subject of the special issue. We invited all the authors of the papers in the special issue. I think half of them were coming to Chicago, and we also invited some other papers and people coming to present also. So we had a wonderful PDW for 3 hours. It was such a warm atmosphere, you know, and we had a really good discussion about this field and also some ideas about what to do in the future. So this work to do this special issue took about 2 to 2.5 years, and I think it characterized. Maybe I'm a part of this subject, you know, but I think it characterized the very nature of a special issue, that it is not so easy to get papers in. So people had to start from the beginning, from scratch writing, you know, and that's why it took some time to finish. I don't think it was a big, super long special issue, because I have been seeing many issues going on for years, you know, but I think it took some time, but I'm extremely happy to have been doing this together with my colleagues, you know.
Excellent, very beautiful trajectory. And now that it is concluded, what would it be the main highlights that you would consider as the main results from the topics and the multiple papers included in the special issue? Which would you say are the main conclusions on the topic?
Yeah, there are many conclusions you can take out here. One thing is that there are so many different pathways of entrepreneurialism or entrepreneurial academics. You know, I mean, I personally have been very involved in starting up new research centers. I think I've been active doing that in 5 cases. You know, Helix Center 1 and 2. I started the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship for 25 years ago, and also Agora Link, etc., etc. So I've been a part of this process, you know, and that was my idea, that this is pure entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship. You know, you have an idea, you mobilize people, you mobilize resources, and you do something substantial, you know. But I also saw a lot of other papers dealing with this subject in another way. I remember the Indian papers that came quite early in the process, actually, where they looked at incubators and accelerators within the university and how they promote entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial academics. So there you have a third mission organization very involved in supporting and promoting entrepreneurship with the university, and how important it is for this organization to do that, you know. And there was a couple of other papers also. I remember from the one from Bologna, which is the oldest university we have in the world, I think, where they talked about identity and how important it is for researchers to see themselves as entrepreneurs, you know. And I think from the third mission and the director for entrepreneurship, they have one at Bologna. I mean, this is of course very important. But if you go out in the big groups of researchers, it's not really true that they see themselves as entrepreneurs, and I think there is this identity thing was very important. Also with another very interesting paper, which I was also very happy to have in the collection of papers in this special issue, is from Chalmers Entrepreneurship School, which is a very profiled entrepreneurship education and training school, where they actually described the emergence of the entrepreneurship school and all the pitfalls and opportunities and obstacles and things like that, to get it, so to say, embedded in the academic so to say, operations and structure and processes, And I think that was very, very interesting. And many other ideas that came into this field of entrepreneurship. So, and another thing, I don't remember exactly which paper it was, put finger on another thing, I think also, and this entrepreneurial ecosystem metaphor we have now, and some people would say innovation ecosystem, etc., etc. What was raised in this special issue was this internal ecosystem within the academia. Maybe it's not such a new thing for me, and others have been very involved in the third mission activities, but I think this internal versus the external ecosystem, I think that match between this type of thing is very, very important. We have actually within the academia an ecosystem that is worth trying to investigate. How is the relationship between different faculties, different schools, different so to say, scientific disciplines and things like that. I mean, and also that this entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial processes could be seen very different within the academia. If you go to the medical school, it may be seen in a certain way. If you go to the technical faculty, etc. If you compare the entrepreneurial ecosystem, it could be very interesting to do. We had done some studies in the past, not focusing on entrepreneurship per se, but we're looking at the PhD students and their entrepreneurialism and the networking and so on. And we saw this system of people within the universities. It was very, very different ways of looking at entrepreneurship and the way you're looking at it. So this was strengthening a little bit the earlier studies from 10 years ago. 10 years ago we did on PhD students. So I think that was quite nice to see that this idea was expanding a lot, and many new perspectives came into the very, very early idea about entrepreneurial universities.
So what about the next steps then? I mean, you have opened and you have created a very nice trajectory and prolific trajectory, and this special issue is an illustration of that. So what about the next steps? What are the topics that you believe emerge from this special issue, which are still to be addressed and which could be interesting for our audience in Technovation to address them in the research?
To be honest, I don't really know. It's we have just finished, and we are very happy about that. But the party just finished, and we need to find another party. And we have actually some papers done. I mean, on the way. I know that Colette Henry, she actually had a paper in this special issue too. She has another special issue, a little bit close to this, in I think this is the Journal of Triple Helix, where we have actually submitted a paper where we describe the emergence of the Helix Center of Excellence, a center I was very active in for 15 years in my very early research career as a professor, and where we, from an entrepreneurial perspective and the toolbox we have to describe this type of organizations, I think it's quite interesting. I mean, when you have a research center, I mean, it could be focused on different things, but I think depending on who is looking at it, you have a certain language you use to describe it. I mean, I know some people have this and they have studied Helix Center from the perspective of of interactive research, you know, and you can describe it in that way, whereas we describe it from entrepreneurial emergence. You know, I mean, what type of entrepreneurial processes or intrapreneurial processes and resources and networks, etc., were involved, and then you have a completely different story. Okay, it is the Helix Center, but you describe it in a way that we that are entrepreneurship researchers prefer to do. You know, I think that is very, very interesting. And when we discussed the PDW, the special issue at the PDW in Chicago, of course there were many ideas that came up. You know, and I wouldn't be surprised that in a year or two we have a new special issue on this. You know, and I might not be involved, but I wouldn't be surprised that people will do something. I think also that this entrepreneurial ecosystem is worth maybe a special issue itself. You know,
itself.
It wouldn't be a long step for me, at least, to something there. And of course, write moral policy implications from the leadership of the university, how to deal with this, etc., you know, and so on. So I mean, something will come. I'm sure about that.
So, million thanks, Professor Klofsten, for sharing this time with you and telling us the whole trajectory around and the whole amount of work that you've put into this endeavor of the special issue. For Technovation, is a pleasure to have people like you who are promoting and putting on the table this type of relevant, but it's too time-consuming topics. And we are delighted to have you on board for the relevant work you do in the journal as well. So million thanks.
Thanks a lot, Björn. Pleasure.
So yeah, see you in the social networks from now on.